Welcome back to the Grow Your Nutrition Business podcast. At Healthy Steps Nutrition, we believe something as fundamental as nutrition shouldn't be complicated, which is why we focus on a simple, habit-based approach. We know that helping your clients become the best and healthiest versions of themselves isn't just about what they eat or coming to the gym a few hours a week. We, as gym owners and coaches, have to focus on a holistic approach, looking at support systems, stress management, sleep, mindset, lifestyle, and of course, exercise and nutrition. I'm your host, Nicole Coyne, registered dietitian and founder of Healthy Steps Nutrition, CrossFit HSN, and HSN Mentoring. I'm also the author of The Basics of Nutrition Coaching, CrossFit Preferred Nutrition course. In this podcast, I'm going to teach you how to make one step at a time to becoming the best nutrition coach and building an awesome habit-based coaching program. Today's podcast guest is Amanda Haar. She is one of the registered dietitians at our HQ location. She specializes in women's health and hormone health, as well as working with kids and families. Amanda and I discuss how to feel fulfilled in work and life. Amanda has an amazing balance between work and life. And I think it is something that a lot of gym owners, trainers, coaches, entrepreneurs in general really struggle with. And if I'm honest, I'm still struggling with it myself. But in this podcast, we're going to teach you how to take some steps so that you can feel fulfilled in your work and your home life. At the end of the podcast, I'm going to talk about some of the things that we do at our HQ location and with our mentoring program around feedback. Feedback is such an important part of growing personally and professionally. Feedback is the reason for many of the initiatives that we have going with HSN Mentoring today. For instance, the Coaching the Coaches program. One of the pieces of feedback that we got a couple years ago was when gym owners and coaches were experiencing the program and they went and signed up for nutrition coaching at our HQ location as they were going through the training, they had such a better experience. They could experience the whole program from a client's perspective, and the outcome was they felt way more confident. Guess what? We started and launched that program a little over a year ago. Kayla heads it up. It is a fantastic program. But the truth is that program has evolved because it's still only a year old. How has it evolved? Based on feedback from the coaches that are implementing the program and from the people that are doing the program. If you're not asking for feedback, you are missing out. So I'm going to talk about a few tips that we have that I use personally regarding feedback so that you can create an exceptional service and strive for excellence in your business. All right, enjoy this podcast about feeling fulfilled in work and your personal life. Amanda, welcome to the Grow Your Nutrition Business podcast. This has been a while. It's been a while since you've been on this one.
Right? It's been too long, so I'm so glad that we are back.
I'm so excited to talk about this subject today that is super relevant for coaches, health coaches, dietitians, nutritionists, people who meet with clients one-on-one. And I will preface this. Before we started this podcast, we were like, man, how do therapists do it? Right? So, how do you have this work-life balance where you're fulfilled in the work that you do and in your personal life, and it doesn't bleed over with the things that people tell you in your work life when you're coaching people into worrying about that stuff when you're at home. I think it's a really important skill that we all need to work on and be mindful of so that we can have this balance of fulfillment in home and in work life.
And I love that we're talking about this today because I think especially when you are leading other people in their wellness, there's that expectation that you have it all in order, right? Like you're supposed to love what you're doing 24/7 and just like never give up, being excited about it. And really the truth is like, depending on the season of life, what you're going through in your own personal life, or just what your clients are trending towards, like it can be a struggle.
Absolutely. So today we want to talk about three main things, just three, or maybe we'll give a couple extra tips in the midst, but three things that you should do on a regular basis so that you are being fulfilled personally and professionally. And the first thing that you need to do, and it's interesting because I've done a lot of courses recently, and they've all come back to this actual thing. What is your why? Why are you doing this? What are you wanting? Why have you invested your time, energy, resources into the training to be able to dedicate your life to helping people? And what are you wanting out of that profession?
Right. And writing that down, putting it in a visible place. I know we talk about like putting that why for our clients, posting it in visible places, but that's the same for us too, right? And whatever that reminder is, it's going to bring you back to that and kind of bring you back up to speed when you're in those more challenging places.
Absolutely. And, I think it's really important. We talk about goal setting for our clients, but how many times do we do goal setting for us personally? One of the things that we've been talking a lot about on the Nutrition Made Simple podcast, our sister podcast, which if you don't listen to that one, it's client facing tips every single week to help people make health a way of life. One of the things we've been talking a lot about on that podcast is setting goals around other aspects of your life, not just about goals in the gym. And so many times, even I was talking to a gym owner this week and they were talking about what I was like, well, what goals do you guys have? And he's like, I want a 300-pound deadlift. I want this. I want that, all related to PRs in the gym. I'm like, man, you have a life outside of the gym. What do you want outside of that too? And so many times, especially if we're gym owners and we own a gym, we coach people with fitness and nutrition. It's so easy to set goals around biometrics. What do I want? Like my body fat percentage to be the number on the scale, or how many inches do I want to lose? It's easy to track that. It's easy to track. I want to get better with the weight that I'm doing in a workout. But what other aspects in our life? What about spiritual goals? What about relationship goals? Who are you connecting with? What are you doing to develop yourself professionally? I mean, you're listening to this podcast, so give yourself a pat on the back. You're doing something to develop yourself personally and professionally. But what else are you doing to help tune in into your skills so that you can make a greater impact and ultimately achieve what you're wanting for your life?
And I love viewing ourselves in the lens of that same holistic view that we prioritize for our clients. And then it kind of comes down to, I know one of my challenges is like when, right? Like, okay, beginning of the year is a pretty great time to, list your challenges or list your goals. But when are we checking in on that? Is it something where like the first of every month we are coming back to those goals, the beginning of the week? Even if, since hormone health is one of my favorites, like during your menstrual phase or the beginning of your new cycle is a great time to be planning and establishing new goals for the future, what you're wanting. So really kind of thinking about in your life, what does that look like for you as far as establishing, your why and what you're wanting, and then coming back in to check on that.
And I think too, if you are a nutrition coach or you're not at a senior leadership level, meeting with someone to talk about what you're wanting. And when you look at the research, and this is important for people who are leaders, who are managers, who are business owners, when you look at the research around how do you keep your staff engaged and wanting to be a part of it, you need to figure out what they're wanting to grow, how you can help them grow personally and professionally. Like, what are they wanting? And you need to foster that environment to help support them so that you can help bring them up and help them develop so that they can be fulfilled. Because ultimately, it is so much easier for you to have an engaged staff instead of having a ton of staff turnover. It's way less expensive for you to keep your staff engaged and wanting to do and feeling fulfilled and doing things and growing. The number one reason why people leave is because they feel like they're not supported, they're not growing, they're not developing professionally. And if you can foster that environment as a gym owner, as a manager, imagine where your business will be because it's not all reliant on you. Like you only have so many skills, right? And I know that if anyone needs any help with hormones, if our coaches have a question to be answered with hormone health, I'm not the person, but Amanda is the best person to answer that. Like I want teams that have diverse strengths so that we can all come together and have a better lens, a better view, and make ultimately a greater impact on our community.
I love that. And really thinking back in your own personal life, right? Like think about the leaders you've had in your life. I'm sure all of us have had a wide range of leaders, depending on how old you are, how many different jobs you've had. I personally have been in a lot of jobs in the past decade. And so I really value like seeing different types of leadership. And like when you invest in people like Nicole does, like it's like you want to stay connected forever, basically.
And I want you to stay connected forever. So, I think it's really important to think about for yourself. And it was really cool. Kayla, our director of coach development at HSN Mentoring, she actually messaged me at the last portion of December, and she said, hey, Nicole, I've spent a lot of time reflecting. Can we please meet so that we can talk about where I'm at, how you feel like I'm doing, and where I want to go in the coming years, like where my future is? Like, as how refreshing was, I can't even explain to you how refreshing that was for me to see, like, yes, I want to meet with you. Yes, I want to talk about all the awesome things that you've done, and where I feel like, hey, you would really excel in this, and what do you want? Because ultimately what you want is a staff that is aligned with their strengths, what you need, and what makes them fulfilled. And if you can align all of those things, like, you're going to have a team that's bought in and accomplishing way more than you could have ever imagined, that will be way better than you doing it by yourself. So if you are a coach listening to this, like, reflect for yourself and then go to your manager, go to your business owner, and have a conversation with them. Like, how do you feel like I'm doing? We just hired another dietitian, and she's like, hey, can we book a call? And on that call, I was like, hey, what's going on? How can I help you? She's like, I want to hear how I'm doing. Like, seek out feedback. If your person, if your manager isn't giving you feedback, seek it out, because ultimately you're only going to get better if you learn what you need to improve on.
Right. I love it. And that comes back to that growth mindset, right? Like it could be easy to try to like stay in that stagnant mindset, but like if you're wanting to grow, you're only going to get better, right?
Exactly. So determine what you are wanting for yourself. But then also, if you're a manager, you need to foster that environment for your staff too. Because probably this is a new concept for a lot of people. It's a new concept. Like, we're not used to setting goals about what we're wanting for ourselves personally and professionally. And how do you have that work life balance? So, super important. What are you wanting? The second thing that I think, Amanda, you do such a good job with is setting some boundaries for yourself. Margin. We keep talking about margin on the other podcasts, and this is the first time I'm bringing it up here, but we need some margin. We need to set some boundaries. Like, if you want to have a work life balance, and I will tell you as a business owner, it is very tough to do this. Slack goes off all the time. Like, people message, there's things that are going on. It's tough. But the truth is, luckily, we're not in a situation where if you don't answer a message, someone is dying right now, right? Like, it's not a life or death situation. It's, hey, let me set some boundaries for myself so that I can feel fulfilled in my home life with my personal relationships, and then show up for my best self at work.
Yeah, that's huge. And I think one thing that's been really helpful for my boundaries is the expectation with HSN is like, we'll respond within the next 24 hours, right? And that to me was really freeing because I'm a by the book person, right? So if I think that I need to be responding immediately, like I think someone needs me, I got to go right now. So that's really helpful to actually set that boundary and adhere to that boundary. That is the big thing.
So this is a really good point, the 24-hour rule. So number one, I made a huge mistake, and I'm curious if you made the same mistake, but I made a huge mistake when I started my private practice. Is when someone messaged me, I would message them right back. And at one point, people had my cell phone number because we didn't have the work number. And people were messaging me like, I'm in line at Starbucks. What should I get? I'm in line at Panera. What should I get? I'm here. What should I get? And it was like I was a menu reader constantly. I was on call all the time. And there was a turning point for me. It was an aha moment. I was at my kids' soccer game. They don't play soccer anymore, but they did at the time. We're at the kids' soccer game. I get a text message about being in line at Starbucks. I didn't answer because I was at the kids' soccer game. And I remember that client getting very frustrated that I didn't respond right away. And I was like, something needs to change here. I cannot do this. I'm not going to be able to be fulfilled. I'm not setting my clients up for success, because all I'm doing is enabling them to get an answer that they could probably make an informed decision themselves of what looks balanced, what would be fulfilling, what would be a great option for me to have that I'm going to like and I'm going to enjoy and is going to be a good, healthy option for me. Like, that's not the relationship I want to set up for myself. So then what happened? The next step was, what is the boundary going to be? And then you need to clearly communicate it from day one, right? So you have this 24-hour boundary with clients, but you communicate it on day one. Hey, you can expect to hear from me within 24 hours if you message me. Like, now they're not expecting you to manage them immediately. And you've been able to set a boundary where you have work-life balance.
Right. And it's great because it really is role modeling at the same time, because you're a role modeling that work is an important part of your life, but the other facets of your life are very important as well. So it really shows them that you have balance in your life as well.
Absolutely. An easy thing to do if you're a coach is schedule out some time where it's like, okay, maybe it's in the morning from 8 to 8:30 that you go in and respond to messages so that it's not this conversation that could happen and be dragged out all day long. Like go in and respond to messages. And then after that allotted time, respond the next day within 24 hours so that you're setting some boundaries for yourself. I think, and sometimes this is really tough, like turning it off, like turn it off. We're not like switches. We can't really just turn it off.
Yeah.
Although
If
I'd
only we
love to.
could.
All right, I'm done. I am done with work. I'm going to I'm going to switch this brain part off. Doesn't work like that. So you have to sometimes foster an environment for you, especially for people that work from home. I think this is really tough. Like
Yeah,
in our house right now, if you look this way, that's our living room. If you look this way, it's the bedroom. You literally have to walk through my office to go to our bedroom at night. And it's tough sometimes because if I walk in the office and my computer's up and I got all my stuff out, I'm naturally thinking about the stuff that I didn't accomplish or during the day, right? So having some set up ways for you to stay on track is going to be really important. It might be closing your computer, having a candle, blowing it out, doing something so that you can stay on track with setting some boundaries for yourself.
I love that. Cause yeah, I totally get that. I mean, most of my work is from home too. And it's like, oh, I just thought of that. I can just run back. And that's a really new thing in our society, right? Like before the age of technology, people went to work and they came home. There was very clear, distinctions between the two. But I love thinking of what is that like physical motion that tells my body and my brain through muscle memory that I can move on to whatever is next in my life, whether it's a workout or time with family or cooking or whatever that looks like for you.
And the other piece of the puzzle, I would say, is being able to like let it go. And this
Mhm.
is, I think, something that you do. I've actually asked you about this before. Like, hey, when you have those client scenarios and someone comes in and it's really struggling and like it's weighing on your heart, like, what do you do? And I remember, well, you can actually say, what do you do?
Right. So, I mean, most of the time, I really want to pray, right? Pray for that client because I know that it's in God's hands, right? I'm just a tool. I'm not God. I'm not going to do everything for them. So I pray and I put it into God's hands, which is ultimately what I need to do more often than I do. Um, and then also just anything else that really helps to separate my brain from work, right? So whether it's exercise or yoga or um, I probably should do that more often before I pick up my kids. So I'm present for them, creating that margin so that you can shift from one thing to the next. But definitely the prayer is my number one way to let go and let God.
I think that's so valuable. So one of the interesting things I've worked with a therapist for quite some time. We see each other every few months. Coach, whatever you want to call her, she's absolutely amazing. But one of the things that I really was intentional about with our staff retreat. So we last year did a staff retreat leading into a live event where we had 100 and plus, 150 gym owners at a live event. It was the first time we've done a live event since COVID. Like I had such high expectations for this event. I really wanted to do really well, but at the same time we had our first ever staff retreat where I met a lot of our staff for the first time. It was the first time that our entire staff was getting together. And I remember like spending a couple sessions just talking about this thing. Like I want to be so present in the moment with the staff and like have so much fun with them and not be worried about making sure everything is absolutely perfect for what I'm wanting for this live event with gym owners. And I remember she knows that I'm a pretty spiritual person. She's like, "Did I ever talk to you about the God box?" And I was like, "No, but I'm very interested in hearing this." And she was like, "Get a box, decorate it." And she's like, "Write on a card, like, what are you wanting and put it in there, like literally give it to God, put it away and be done." So I did that. And what was interesting, and even Jay, my husband, after the event, he was like, "Holy cow, you were so present in the moment. You were at that event. Like
I
we
loved it.
just
It was
had
amazing.
so much fun." And was it absolutely perfect the whole time? No, like right before the Friday, we did like this thing with Tim Arnold, and he's absolutely amazing. And I remember like my brain was kind of going to, okay, we have the welcome reception in like a couple hours. Like I need to get my stuff together for that. But other than that, like for the days leading up, it was so fun to be so present. And honestly, that was my bright spot of the year last year was that time with the staff. And ultimately, if I didn't set boundaries for myself and really define what I was wanting and give it to God and have my way to separate, that would not have been my bright spot because I would not have been so present. And I wonder what people listening to this that maybe have missed out on things because they haven't set boundaries on themselves or been fully present in an opportunity that you could have made a really big difference. And there's so many different examples. If you're a coach, like someone grabs you after class and is talking like, and maybe is struggling with something, do you say, oh man, and just like kind of shoo them off because you have to get ready to the next class, or do you go for a walk with them and really be intentional and give them an ear and time and space to talk and just know that you're here and there for them? Like, there's such a difference that you can do if you set boundaries and create margin for your life so that you can be fully present in the moment.
Right. And it takes work, right? Like it's not natural for us to try to let go of control like that, right?
Yeah.
Like it's almost like worrying sometimes feels good, like because we feel like we're doing something about it, but it does not make us any more productive. So I love that like physical box that you can just, let God take it from you.
Yeah. Like put it in there. There's a song. It's like, you know, lay it on Jesus's feet or something. I don't remember the exact words. I'm butchering it now, but like the point is like, put it down, lay it down, and then walk away, step away because it's out of your hands. So I think that's really important. The last thing that I would have to say about, staying fulfilled in work and home is it goes along with the first tip of like defining what you're wanting, but really being super clear and have positive affirmations around that. Like, hey, I have a gift worth giving. Like I know that I provide so much value. Say it to yourself, speak it to yourself, and then you start believing it, right? Our thoughts determine what we believe. If we constantly are self-doubting and lacking confidence, it's going to shine through to what we do. But if we're talking positive light to ourselves, if we're speaking life into ourselves, then we're going to be more confident and be able to have a greater impact on people. So I think that's important. Like, one of the things HSN mentoring clients like download the positive affirmation sheet for coaches, highlight the ones that are speaking to you and say those in front of the mirror every single day. This actually comes from John Acuff, one of my favorite authors and soundtracks. He did this with 10,000 people, and the results that those people had because they talked positive affirmations in front of a mirror 20 times in a month, 20 times, that's it. It was like a 400% increase in satisfaction and the amount of like progress that they made towards their goals and what they're wanting was exponential. And it all started from them starting to speak what they wanted to believe. And then they started believing it and started feeling more confident and started taking action because of all of that.
I love that. That's really cool. I mean, the resource with the affirmations is awesome, right? Like it's just like here's your worksheet, like pick out what stands out to you and use it. For some of my clients, like or myself, we post like Bible passages on our wall, like things that we struggle with, and those words of just positive light that are going to support us. So, or maybe you have like a quote that you read somewhere that really speaks to you, whatever is going to speak to you in those moments of what you're currently being challenged with. That's just post it wherever you can see it.
I love it. I love it. It's so important for you to be able to figure out what is going to work for you. And like, these are not perfect steps. Like if you're a business owner, if you're a manager, and really anyone, like we're not robots. We're not going to be able to have this switch where we can turn off work and turn on home life. There is bleeding in there. There's going to like run together. But if you can figure out some boundaries for yourself and really define what are you wanting as a person, showing up as my best self for work and then my best self to be at home with my family, my spouse, whoever that you live with. And if you don't have that, then the relationships that you have, the friendships that you have, like we're meant to do life together. And if we're only doing work, if we're only having people, you know, talk to us and we're not able to like connect with other people, we're missing out on a huge opportunity to live life to its fullest. So we got to have those boundaries. We need to set those. We need to have positive affirmations. But the first step and most important step, in my opinion, is define what are you wanting for yourself. And there's no right answer to this. There's no right answer. So you need to define what that looks like for you.
And sometimes when you kind of dig down that deep, it can be a little bit scary, right? Because sometimes you might figure out what you're wanting actually requires big changes in your life.
Yeah.
So navigating that is kind of a scary thing, but it's worth it in the end, right?
Absolutely. Amanda, thanks for coming on the podcast. Hopefully we get you on Grow more.
Yes, I would love that. Thank you for having me.
I hope you enjoyed that episode with Amanda and I. If you want to hear more tips about nutrition, about hormone health, and anything else, Amanda is a regular guest on our Nutrition Made Simple podcast. That's right. We have a sister podcast. Go type in Nutrition Made Simple. Every single week, we give simple, actionable tips to help people make health a way of life. Why do we have 2 podcasts? I say it all the time, but our mission here is to empower 1 million people to take control of their health one step at a time so that they can prevent and reverse chronic disease. Amanda and I talk about all things health, wellness, weight loss, hormones in the Nutrition Made Simple podcast. Make sure you go subscribe. I guarantee you're going to hear some tips that you can use with your personal clients if you're looking to build a nutrition coaching program. All right, as promised, I want to talk about feedback. Feedback is something that for some people, it's a little bit easier than others. And I think a lot of times we might feel a quick response to react instead of respond when we get feedback. But the truth is, when you get feedback, you should and want to strive to make things better. Look at it from an objective standpoint. Hey, how can we improve? And if it's related to your staff, are you giving them the tools and resources so that they can be successful? Are you evaluating? Are you doing quality assurance to ensure they are delivering the service that you want to deliver? Quality assurance is something that's set up by a few people on our team. We have rubrics. That's one of the reasons why we do the coach evaluation as a part of the training and the annual subscription for HSN mentoring. Having ongoing coach evaluations, having QAs to ensure quality assurance is such an important piece to ensure that you're delivering a professional experience. When you think about getting feedback, you want to go in with an objective viewpoint of how can we improve? How can I take this? There's sometimes where you'll get a piece of feedback and it might be on the person, but there's always something that you can do to improve the experience so that their perception of your service is exceptional. I can tell you that feedback is something that I take very seriously. It's one of the reasons why we have a graduation call at the end of training. I want to hear how excited gym owners and coaches are, their feedback from the training, and help them set realistic goals now that they're done with the training going into the next year so that they can have a story like last week's podcast with Rob, where he went from 0 nutrition revenue to $15,000 a month on average from nutrition revenue. Adding a nutrition coaching program can allow you to have such a greater impact, to impact more people in your community and to truly transform their health and their lives. But as gym owners, as trainers, as coaches, we need to have a growth mindset. What can we do to improve? How can we improve the experience for our clients, for our team, so that everyone is set up for success? If you work for someone who doesn't normally give you feedback, ask, hey, what am I doing well? What can I improve on? How can I best support you so that we are going together in the mission and vision of what you're looking to accomplish in this business? As gym owners and coaches, I feel like we have the best job in the world. We are able to help transform lives so that these people can make a greater impact and fulfill their purpose in life. I hope you understand the impact that you can have by adding nutrition in combination with fitness and accountability. All right, hope you enjoyed this podcast episode. Please don't forget to subscribe, leave us a review so that you don't miss another episode. By leaving us a review, it will really help this podcast reach more people. I would really appreciate it. See you back here next week.